You're getting into a car. You close the door. You put on your seatbelt. And for a split second, your brain stops. The steering wheel is on the wrong side. Your hand reaches for nothing. Your reflexes are confused. It's like your body knows something is off, but can't explain what. Because the world is split in two when it comes to driving. And this split isn't a technology glitch. It's not an engineering choice either. This split is the echo of a survival instinct from people who lived 1,000 years ago, carried all the way to today. It all started with a sword. Roads in the Middle Ages were dangerous. Bandits, soldiers from rival lords, unknown strangers. When you encountered someone on the road, you didn't know what to expect. So you always had to be ready. The vast majority of people were right-handed. The sword was carried in the right hand. When someone came from the opposite direction, your right hand needed to be free and close to the other side, so you could defend yourself or draw your sword quickly. That's why people naturally walked on the left side of the road, instinctively, naturally, without thinking. This wasn't a rule, it was a survival reflex. Over time, the reflex became a habit. The habit became a rule. On bridges, narrow passes, and city entrances, keeping to the left maintained order, reduced conflict, and made life easier. And one of the first major powers to officially codify this system was Britain. In the late 1700s, keeping to the left became law. Then the empire grew, and the rule grew with it. It went to India, it went to Australia, it went to South Africa. The reason these countries drive on the left today isn't geography. It's a document signed by a British lawmaker centuries ago. Japan is an interesting exception. It was never a British colony, but in the late 1800s, it imported its railway system from England. The technology came and the system came with it. The traffic infrastructure was built on that foundation and never changed. Then Napoleon entered the scene, and everything flipped. As Napoleon's armies marched across Europe, they moved on the right. There was a strategic reason behind this. Soldiers carried their spears and rifles on their left shoulder. If they marched on the left, their weapons would be pointed directly at oncoming people. That created unnecessary tension, unnecessary confrontation. Marching on the right meant less conflict, more organized movement. Napoleon imposed his own system on the territories he conquered: France, Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, Poland. Continental Europe slowly shifted to the right. The countries that resisted Napoleon, Britain, Austria, and Portugal, stayed on the left. This wasn't just a traffic rule. This was a political identity. But war wasn't the only factor. At the time, massive freight wagons called Conestoga wagons were used across Europe and America. The drivers of these wagons didn't sit on the vehicle itself. They rode the left rear horse and held the whip in their right hand, with the whip on the right. Keeping to the right side of the road made much more sense for visibility and control. Trade routes flowed to the right. The economy decided the direction. America was newly founded. When traffic laws were being written, nobody invented a system from scratch. They took what already existed. Driving on the right became the American habit. Then the automobile was invented, and at that critical moment, something remarkable happened. Nothing changed. When engineers designed the automobile, they didn't ask, where should we put the steering wheel? The question they asked was, which side of the road do people drive on? Whatever the answer was, the steering wheel went there. Left in Britain, right in America. The position of the steering wheel wasn't an engineering decision. It was a decision made by history. But did this system ever change? Once, and in a very dramatic way. Sweden drove on the left until 1967, but its neighbors, Norway, Finland, and Denmark, drove on the right. Border crossings were chaotic. Traffic accidents were rising. A decision was made. Sweden would switch to the right. And this switch happened in a single day. September 3rd, 1967, 4:50 in the morning. Every vehicle stopped. They waited in the middle of the road For exactly 5 minutes, not a single vehicle moved in Sweden. At 5 a.m., all vehicles slowly moved to the right and began driving again. In one night, 8 million people had to develop a brand new reflex. That moment left behind one of the strangest traffic photographs in history. In the early hours of the morning, in an empty Swedish city, those 5 minutes where cars silently switched sides. Now let's come back to you. Get back into that car, close the door, put on your seatbelt, and look at that strange feeling. The feeling of your hand reaching for nothing. That feeling doesn't actually belong to you. It's the mark left on you by the instincts of people who lived centuries ago. A link in an unbroken chain carried from sword-bearing cavalry to Napoleon's armies, from Conestoga wagons to modern highways. You're in a modern vehicle. You have GPS, sensors, maybe even an automatic lane-keeping system. But the Middle Ages decided which side your steering wheel is on. So what about the future? If self-driving cars become widespread, if the whole world is forced to adopt a single system, what happens then? Can a centuries-old habit be erased? I don't know, but I know this. We keep driving on the road that history gave us without even realizing it.